Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. My name is DJ and it's been a while. It's been about 1.5 years since I've made my last YouTube video about books, shows, life, things. And it's been that long just because like the pandemic ended and I had to go back to work like most people did. And going back to work put me in a place where I just didn't have as much time as I did before during the pandemic to read tons of books, give tons of reviews, and just interact with everyone and just have my channel popping like it was popping. But that's okay because I am back. That being said, let's get into these books. So the first book that I finished this year, because I've been reading a lot of books, but I just haven't finished them. I've been jumping here and there from story to story, but you know, I'm doing what I gotta do. I'm trying. But the first book that I finished this year is The Jigsaw Man by Nadine Matheson. This book was actually really good. Anybody who's into like true crime or like crime fiction or anything like crime related, like if you love like Law and Order or like Criminal Minds or any of those shows that kind of like center around the justice system and the police departments and all of the legislation and you know all that stuff that kind of like intertwines to keep our world just, this book is kind of like going in that lane. So the Jigsaw Man follows this detective in the UK by the name of Henley, and she's dealing with PTSD and trauma from a past case that she was working on where this guy, the Jigsaw Man, was pretty much like going around chopping people up and leaving these little puzzle symbols on their bodies just to kind of like signature his way into fame as a serial killer in the UK. And it's absolutely crazy to show like, wow, you know, you found a leg over here, you found an arm over here, but just the idea that this man is actually cutting these people up and taking out the time to leave symbols and clues for the police to like find out what's going on and to like pretty much keep them on this chase of finding him and catching him. So we kind of link up with Henley where she has already caught this guy one time and he's in jail, but there's like a copycat out here kind of like doing exactly what he was doing, and he's in jail and he's just like, that's not me. But he kind of like gets upset because who likes a copycat? Who likes someone actually taking their fucking talent? In this case, not really a talent. I mean, maybe it is a talent that you can like cut people up and just like, but in this situation, he's upset, he's in jail, he doesn't like that he has a copycat. Henley is also now deemed with the job of finding the person that is copying him, but also stopping him from like breaking out of jail and continuing on this path of like murder and carnage and craziness, while she also has to deal with the fact of her family. She has a husband and she has a daughter, and they're looking at her like, we kind of don't want you to be in danger, you're a cop and all, but like we saw what happened the last time with this guy and we all like just want to be a family, want to live a regular life, don't want to deal with you being out there going all police on us. But it was really good. It was a very fast read, even though it is kind of a thick book. I really enjoyed it because I do love like Law and Order, and I love all those like fast-paced cop shows, because even though it is fantasized, it does give a look into the dangerous lives that cops live, and also sometimes how they're not doing what they should be doing and how they miss things because they are being egotistical, or the job gets to them, family gets to them, and they're not being able to be clear-headed. So it shows the mistakes and the craziness of the life of people in law enforcement and just regular people living their lives, and they get caught up in foolishness. But The Jigsaw Man, it was really good, and I do recommend it for people who do like criminal shit. Blacktop Wasteland by S.A. Cosby. This book was absolutely crazy, and when I posted it on Bookstagram that I was going to be reading this, so many people were like, yep, this is the one, do this one, read this one, it's fast, it's good, it's crazy, my type of book. So Blacktop Wasteland follows a black man by the name of Beauregard living in Virginia, and he's living in like the country part, like, you know, some of the backwoods areas, not very like well known by many people. He lives in a town that's quite small. Most people know each other. Most people feel like if you find yourself in this town, either you are really, really, really lost, or you came looking for something, looking for someone, maybe looking for trouble or whatever. But he lives in a small town in Virginia with his wife and his 2 sons. He also has a daughter, but she's a part of a separate situation. So he lives there, and he owns a garage where he works on cars with his cousin. And, you know, they're just living the American life, right? But Bo, or Bug, he is he's like a street racer. He races for money in the street, and in this like underground world of racing. And he also does jobs, little jobs for people who may need a fast driver. You can do with that information what you will. There are many jobs where people need someone to drive fast, and Bug is the person that's looking for those jobs. This book is crazy. It's really crazy. It kind of like shows this this idea that men have to do crazy things in order to like provide for their families or make it through life, which in some situations that is true. But I think it kind of lends to this crazy narrative that you know, all a man really is protection and stability for his family and for his community. And that's just utterly crazy. You know, there are ways that you can lean on the women in your community, especially those women that kind of like give you insight on the fact that you're going down the wrong road, the fact that you're doing things that are like breaking you and making you exhausted, or portraying you in a bad light, or even the fact that you are missing from the family picture because either you can't provide, so you disappear out of shame or out of just, you know, not being able to provide, or that you are providing but the jobs that you do are taking you away from the family because you're trying to provide. But with Bo, he gets caught into a few situations where like within a certain amount of time he's going to need thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to actually set his life in the right path. Not saying it's going to set him up for greatness, but it'll actually just level out the playing field for him. So, of course, whenever any of us are hit with a situation where we're like, I have to take care of my life. My life is in shambles and I don't have money, so I have to run and grab money or figure things out. We start making decisions that aren't so great or lucrative to our future. And that's Bo. He ends up racing in these blacktop wastelands, and he ends up doing jobs in this blacktop wasteland that really don't benefit him in the future. My heart goes out to Bo, because, you know, we all know strong black men who just don't listen sometimes, aren't really thinking the way that they should, and they get caught up in foolishness. And yeah, so his heart is in the right place, and he's really trying to do the right thing by his family, by his friends, by himself. He's really trying. But believe me, when I say that the shit hits the fan, I mean the fan fell over because there was so much shit hitting it. It gets crazy. But I would say that this is a great read. I would rate this book probably like a 4.5 star. I think it's really good. I wouldn't give it a 5 because of course there's some things that I felt like were just like, I ain't really like that. Could have been better. Story could have been a little bit longer. I feel like there were some more characters that we could have learned about that would have brought the story all the way around and made it just a solid piece. But I did love it. So I mean, 4.5. Amazing book. Blacktop Wasteland. Get into it. So in 2021, I read Marlon James's Black Leopard, Red Wolf. Many people had issues with this book because it is something unlike most books in the fantasy genre, in the black fantasy genre, or African American fantasy genre, however you'd like to put it. It is a crazy story, for a lack of better words. It's just crazy. It's chaotic. It's a lot going on. The way that it's written is not so usual to most readers. There's a lot of like dialect and a lot of like language pattern that is taken from like the African cultures, and the pacing is very interesting. And once you get into it, if you can like push yourself to get into it, it's an amazing read. Like, I gave that book 5 stars because it's just everything that someone that is in the fantasy realm would want to read and want to come across. But I will say, for those who aren't familiar with Marlon James's work, there will be a lot of profanity, a lot of cursing, a lot of sex, a lot of fights, violence, craziness. There's a lot of adult things going on. So this is not one of those little fantasies that you want to read to your kids or offer to anybody YA. Listen, it's tough. In this big age, I struggled. So it's just trigger warnings for those who want to read something light and fluffy. Don't go down this path for this series, because Black Leopard Red Wolf was absolutely crazy. That being said, I am currently reading and almost done. I'm like 100 pages away from the end, but I'm currently reading Moon Witch Spider King. This is the second book of I think it's called the Dark Star trilogy. This book is absolutely amazing. Like, I love this book, and I'm not just saying that because I do love this author, because there are maybe 1 or 2 books from his catalog that I'm not a huge fan of, that I just couldn't make it through, so no bias here. But this book is absolutely amazing, and it's completely different from the first book of the series. When he wrote Black Leopard Red Wolf, the vibe of that whole story was just crazy, and that story follows Tracker. Tracker is a wolf boy wolf, coming of age guy in Africa, or fantasy Africa, who and let me just say, this world is full of different magical beings and creatures and people and things. So like, there are shapeshifters, there are people who have immense magical powers that you have to just deal with that. Like, that's who they are, that's what they do. There's really no explanation to it. So with Tracker, he is a man, but he's also a wolf. So let's just werewolf. I don't know, let's just leave it there. But that story follows Tracker as the main character, and this book will follow Sogolan, who is the Moon Witch, and her coming of age, her story, her backstory, and the current situations that are going on, where the 2 books kind of match up, because they're on this journey to save a child, but not really save a child. There's so many more pieces and parts to this, where it's not just about saving the child, but at some point they do meet up. So in the first book, we see Tracker and Sogolan meet up in like the second quarter of the book. So like maybe 3 parts of that book, you've already met Sogolan, you know who she is, and you know her connection to Tracker. But in this book, we're following Sogolan's story, and towards the end of the first book, Sogolan is like 300 years old. In this book, we meet her like kind of around the age of 13, or that's when she really starts counting her years. So we find out her childhood story, her family, like where she came from, and all the things that lead up to making her who she is, and Sogolan, the Moon Witch. And from what I understand and where I'm at in the book, when she meets up with Tracker, she's about 170 something years old, and she doesn't really have a count of time of why or how she's even become this age. And she spent many years in like a weird sleeping stage, trying to forget all the foolishness and craziness that happened in the beginning of her life. But also some years, maybe 50 to 75 years, are just missing, and it's because of a being called the AC, who is connected to the king of the north, I believe. And the AC is this powerful being, and the truth is, while everyone is kind of like searching for this baby and trying to figure out how to like make the plan work, Sogolan is really setting her sights on the AC, because he ruined her life in many ways. Just following her, getting to know her, and understanding her will to uplift women, help women in a world that is constantly like throwing blows at women and making sure that they stay second on the totem pole, and, you know, always submissive to men, always seen as a thing to own, and just always being in the background and never seen in the forefront for who they really are, who they can be. So Sogalon is pretty much like feminist of the damn millennium. She's extremely powerful, and she's coming to learn her powers in a better way. The stories are just crazy, and she's cool. She's funny. Like, when I say Sogalon is funny, I actually love her. I've actually found myself reading on the train sometimes, and I'm like, wow, I'm laughing in public. I'm reading a book and I'm I'm laughing, and it's absolutely okay because it's good. And honestly, when I'm out on the train reading, sidebar, I kind of wish more people were reading. I wish more people would read. But anyway, this book is amazing. I'm 100 pages away from the ending, and now I'm just like watching all of Marlon James's interviews, and I'm like, yo, when is this man gonna come out with this next book? I don't even want to finish it. I'm like slow reading to the end because I'm like, yo, what's gonna happen next? Whose point of view are we gonna see now? Like, what? This is crazy. But getting up to the part where Sogalon and Tracker are meeting up, and it's taking me back to the other book, and Marlon James is just like a genius. His way of like intertwining these stories and bringing everything back together and giving us the opportunity to choose who to believe and who to be like fans for. Absolutely amazing. So, you know, don't want to give too much away. I think that you should definitely read this book because it's amazing. If you don't like fantasy, who are you? What do you do? Like, what's going on? Like, imagination. Get into this because it's just great, and it's also not your average like Frog and the Princess type thing. It's very like adult fantasy, and it's amazing. Moon Witch Spider King. So those are 3 books that I have read and finished in the past month. So now let's talk about some books that I plan on reading for the rest of the month of August, and hopefully I'll actually get through them so that I can keep the vibes going. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all just kind of like root for me to actually read faster and more often because I need to. So the first book on my TBR list for August is The Attic Child by Lola J. I hope I'm saying that right. I hope that it's J or Jai. The Attic Child. I gotta be honest, I'm visual. Anything that grabs me visually, I'm all for it. Even if it's probably not good for me, it's going to catch my attention, and this book did it. So this book is following 2 separate stories of young people or children that are in 2 separate history eras or times in history, and they are trapped in an attic. The first child is Celestine, trapped in the attic around the early 1900s. And then the second child is Laura, trapped in the attic around the late 1900s, like 1970s. And they both have these experiences in the attic. I have not heard any reviews of this book. I've not read any reviews because I do want to go into this one without any type of like idea of what's going on or any prejudice towards it. And I try to do that with books that do catch my attention, like don't judge the book by the cover. So I feel like if this cover drew me in, I just want to see if the story is kind of like matching up to that. But from what I've heard, this book is one of those books that's going to pretty much hit you in the gut. And I love those books, especially when it just shines light onto certain truths that we deal with in everyday life on this planet. So even though the stories are hard to swallow and sometimes they make us cry and they make us think a little bit harder on things that we don't really want to think about, it's very necessary. It's necessary to hear those stories and to always kind of keep us grounded and remember that life isn't all sunshine and ice cream for a lot of people that are across this planet and people that have been dealing with things like this across history. So I think it's always good to take a dive into it, and usually these stories do bring some type of light and positivity to our lives. So I'm just hoping that it will bless me. It's blessed many other people. I've heard great reviews. So The Attic Child, I'll be getting to that this month. So the next book on my TBR for August will be Babel by R.F. Kuang. So So many people love this author. I have read absolutely nothing by her. I know that she's done like the Poppy Wars, and I know that she has a new book out called Yellowface. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about Yellowface because, you know, a lot of people don't like to read stories about characters that are going to annoy them, or like characters that are going to make them feel upset and just angry. But you know what? Those people do exist in real life. So sometimes I will say it's good to read about those people so that you can learn other tactics of dealing with them and navigating situations with them, or even getting rid of them. I haven't read Yellowface, probably will because I like the cover. Babel just immediately made me think about the Bible, because I believe that the Tower of Babel or something in Babel is going on in the Bible. So it made me think, okay, whoa, you know, this is some ancient, old, dark craziness. It's supposed to be, it's a, you know, academia, dark academia, or like arcane history. All of that. Love that. Love anything dark, love anything magical or mythological or anything like that. Love it. I know absolutely nothing about this book. I do love the cover though. I do love the cover. And shout out to Book of the Month, because they just be like rocking like this big old book for like $10-11. Especially I got it when it was like hype. So that's dope. I know nothing about what's going to happen or what's going to go on. But if you guys stay tuned, you know, you keep coming back to the channel and watching my videos and interacting and seeing what's going on, you know what I'm saying? You just might find out like I found out. You might fuck around and find out. But yeah, so love the cover. Arf Kwong, she's well known, one of the biggest names in the industry right now. I've heard so much about her. So I'm hoping that I do actually enjoy this book. I'm pretty sure I will. If I don't, DNF that hoe. But yeah, I really do like the idea of reading something that has been so popular, and I hope that I enjoy it. You guys will hear about it, but Babel. So lastly on my list, I kind of wanted to pay tribute to this person because she has held a very important role in my life. Outside of me being a visual artist, my first true love of artistry was found in music. I've spent most of my life singing. I was singing in choirs and groups. I've traveled, and I've met some amazing artists, and even had the opportunity to sing and share my gifts with some of the biggest artists in the game. Hopefully I get back to that this year. I feel it in my heart, I feel it in my spirit that I will journey back on my vibe with music. I miss it. I truly adore being in the industry, and I pray that I get back to my roots in the music world. Recently we lost one of our pioneers. We lost someone so huge and effective to black music especially, but just music in general globally. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to honor her by learning a little bit more about her story and just keeping her name alive. And that person is Tina Turner. And Tina, My Life Story, Tina Turner by Kirk Loder. I know that there is another book of hers that she released recently, not too long before her passing, and I'm pretty sure I'll get to that, but this book was referred to by a loved one. This book actually came out in 1986. 1986 is the year after I was born, so you know, I wasn't out there grabbing books around that time to even learn about Tina Turner, but I'm so glad that it was referred to me, because I would love to see where her mind was at that time, or how she was feeling about her past marriage with her husband, and just, you know, being one of the biggest names in the industry for like rock and roll and soul and R&B. She's just amazing. And most people, they say that big names like Tina they're huge and they're amazing and they're, you know, incomparable because they're trendy. It's huge. You know all the hits. You see her traveling the world. But like for people who do understand music and follow music, you know how like she had that powerful voice that can be projected throughout like an arena, and she was singing like a powerhouse for hours and dancing on stage and being innovative with her costumes, the ones to turn the wigs upside down and backwards to give it a different vibe and a different look. It was that grit, that southern, like, hit you in the gut with my voice. Tina Turner was just amazing all the way up until the end. And in so many ways, it's almost like weird to think that somebody of this magnitude and this powerful is gone from us. It almost feels like she's still here, which makes someone so powerful and amazing immortal in many ways. This book is actually in interview form. There's a question or a statement, and then you get the reply or the response from her or from whoever else is in these certain interviews with her. I have heard nothing about this book as well, which I think is great. I get to go in with a fresh mind and just getting a little bit more of an understanding of Tina Turner. So, Tina. I'll be reading this month, and it's a short read, so it'll be done. So, what now? Now is actually the time to say goodbye. I'm just glad that I'm back and able to continue to make videos and just share my experiences with reading and give suggestions. So I kind of want to bring more to my channel than just my book reviews. Definitely on current events. I watch tons of movies and shows, and I'm sure that you guys would love to hear the suggestions I have on what you should watch, what you probably shouldn't watch, or the things that I love that I've seen, or the things that I plan on seeing. Things in general, because DJ always has something to say, and he gon' say it. But yeah, thank you guys for coming through, and I hope to see you in my next video. Peace.